Here are the top stories for today, December 5, 2019. Malacanang slams water concessionaires and the government for entering allegedly onerous concession agreements. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines defines the involvement of a Chinese company in the country's grid operators as purely business. Parts of Bicol region are placed under state of calamity after the onslaught of Typhoon Tisoy. And the PCOO says it has launched media literacy reforms to promote transparency in government.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang on Wednesday said the onerous water concession agreements between the government and water concessionaires Manila Water and Maynilad are bleeding our country dry. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this remark after President Duterte slammed the decision of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in Singapore. The PCA is directing the Philippine government to pay Manila Water and Maynilad billions of pesos for the non-implementation of water rate increases that occurred during the administration of former President Fidel Ramos. In a statement, Panelo said it is apparent that some members of the government have not only looked the other way, but have in fact purposely guided the hands of those who have raped our economy for their own personal aggrandizement. Manila Water is a subsidiary of Ayala Corporation, while businessman Manny Pangilinan's Metro Pacific Investments Corporation owns a controlling stake in Maynilad. The two private companies distribute water in Metro Manila and other parts of the country under agreement signed with the state MWSS in 1997. In a speech on Tuesday night, Duterte lashed out at the water concessionaires after a review conducted by the Department of Justice showed that the water contracts were onerous and disadvantageous to the people relative the terms or periods, government non-interference, as well as concessionaire indemnification for losses. Meanwhile, Senate President Vicente Soto III on Wednesday said he fully supports President Duterte's move to amend the alleged one-sided concession agreement between the government and water companies Maynilad and Manila Water and hold all persons behind the contract accountable. President Duterte on Tuesday assailed the provisions in the 1997 water concession agreements with the two private firms that are allegedly disadvantageous to the government. Among the assailed provisions are those that prohibited government interference in rate setting and the provision for indemnity in case of such government interference. Meanwhile, Senator Amy Marcos also expressed her support for the president on the issue. She said water is universally recognized as a human right and not merely a commodity. She said she supports PRRD's desire to assail these onerous contracts that deprive Filipinos of both their right to water as well as impose liabilities upon government even when service and supply fail. On the other hand, Senator Francis Tolentino said the Senate should look into the matter. Still on business, NGCP President and Chief Executive Officer Anthony Almeida said the Chinese involvement in their firm is simply about business. In a briefing on Wednesday, Almeida explained that the Chinese have always been their partner in the past 10 years and they only serve as directors because of their investments. Almeida said the Chinese investments in NGCP are not different with some Philippine companies' decision to invest overseas. Asked for his comment on the resolution filed in the House of Representatives to investigate China's stake in NGCP, Almeida said they are always open for this kind of inquiries. Last Monday, Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi said there was a need to immediately assess NGCP's system with regards to the involvement of Chinese investors. He said the only way to address questions on the security of NGCP's system from external forces is for state experts to audit it and have the oversight function on the whole system. President Rodrigo Duterte welcomed the People's Republic of China's new ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian. The envoy replaced Zhao Jinhua, who became Beijing's ambassador to Manila in 2014. More on this and other news from Benjamin Doc.
President Rodrigo Duterte welcomed the new Chinese ambassador to the Philippines as well as the 5 other envoys from other countries at Malacanang Palace on Wednesday night. Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilin was the last to present his credentials to Duterte at the palace's reception hall. Wang replaced former Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Zhao Jinhua, who enjoyed close ties with Duterte but had to leave Manila last month after his tour of duty ended in October this year. Duterte hopes that Wang would help further improve ties between Manila and Beijing. Meanwhile, the entire armed forces of the Philippines welcomed on Wednesday the installation of Lieutenant General Gilbert Gapay as the 61st commander of the 97,000-strong Philippine Army. Gapay will replace Lieutenant General Macairog Alberto, who will bow out of the service on Friday upon reaching the mandatory military retirement age of 56. Gapay is the current commander of the Southern Luzon Command, which is based in Lucena City, Quezon. AFP spokesperson Marine Brigadier General Edgard Arevalo said Gapay has also served with distinction various sensitive positions in both garrison and field assignments at the PA and AFP General Headquarters. He added that Gapay is a highly esteemed and emulated officer, having risen to the ranks after graduating number 1 in the Philippine Military Academy Sinagtala class of 1986. In other news, the Department of Education seeks to improve the quality of basic education in the country after the Philippines got a poor ranking in the Program for International Student Assessment or PISA 2018. In a statement Wednesday, the DepEd said the Philippines joined PISA for the first time last year as part of their reform plans on quality basic education. Results of the PISA 2018 showed the Philippines ranking at the bottom for performance in reading and second lowest for both mathematics and science. The Department of Education on Wednesday launched Sulong Edukalidad program, which is said to implement aggressive reforms to improve the country's quality of basic education. The department also called for national involvement in the program to ensure no student gets left behind in any part of the country. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Still to come, parts of Bicol region are placed under a state of calamity after the onslaught of Typhoon Tisoy. The country's inflation rate jumps to 1.3% in November. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
One of the goals of the Philippine Development Plan is to reduce poverty incidence from 21.6% in 2015 to 14% by 2022. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's Executive Order No. 24 mandates the Human Development and Poverty Reduction Cluster and its member agencies to effectively deliver social services and poverty reduction strategies for the poor. Education as a central strategy. Making education the central strategy for investing in people, reducing poverty, and building national competitiveness. This strategy shall strengthen the capacity and probability of Filipinos to obtain jobs, increase and develop their knowledge about the society, and increase their capacities and skills for the 21st century. These will help in building and maintaining human capital development, especially among the poor. Advance and protect public health. By advancing and protecting public health, HDPRC shall ensure that the welfare of every family's health and well-being is taken care of through proper nutrition and family planning. Through this, there will be a continuing decrease in infant and maternal mortality rate, hunger, and malnutrition. The strategy also shall improve the condition of the elderly and persons with disability and decrease the number of deaths due to non-communicable diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Enhance social protection. Through enhancing social protection, this strategy shall strengthen the partnerships of government agencies to ensure that the programs and services will help in addressing the basic needs of the underprivileged. This includes the provision of health insurance, adequate wage, livelihood assistance, cash transfers and subsidies, and immediate disaster response to improve the quality of life of the poor. Build capacities and opportunities. By building capacities and opportunities for the agriculture sector, this strategy shall provide adequate support to the agricultural workforce, including marginalized farmers, fisherfolk, and other sectors including women, to create opportunities that will benefit them. Through all these strategies, the government will be able to help the underprivileged Filipinos to escape the bounds of poverty towards a more decent way of life and overall development. Dahil sa Ambisyon 2040, ang buhay nating Pilipino ay matatag, maginhawa, at panatag.
Albay and Sorsogon provinces were placed under state of calamity on Wednesday after suffering the brunt of Typhoon Tisoy. The storm made landfall in Gubat, Sorsogon on Monday night, causing widespread devastation not only in Bicol but also in nearby Quezon province. Based on the initial report from Sorsogon province, damages in agriculture, livestock, and fisheries have initially reached a total amount of 667 million pesos. The Office of Civil Defense and Electric Power in the provinces of Catanduanes, Albay, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Sorsogon, and Masbate, including Ticao and Burias Islands, has yet to be restored, while telecommunication signal interruptions in Catanduanes, Camarines Norte were also reported. As of December 4, there were 1,422 barangays, 125,857 families, or 506,130 individuals affected by Typhoon Tisoy in various parts of Bicol. The Presidential Task Force on Media Security on Wednesday formally asked the Supreme Court to allow media coverage of the scheduled promulgation of the Maguindanao Massacre case on December 19. PTFOM's Executive Director Undersecretary Joel C. Egco requested Court Administrator Jose Maidas Marquez that official government communication agencies such as the PCOO, RTVM, Philippine News Agency, PTV, and others be allowed to cover the said event so that the proceedings can be aired on all government traditional and social media platforms. The Maguindanao Massacre is one of the cases in the inventory of the PTFOMs. 32 of those killed were journalists accompanying the convoy on their way to Sharif Agwak in Maguindanao to file the certificate of candidacy of then Maguindanao gubernatorial candidate Ismael Toto Mangudadatu. The convoy was ambushed by around 100 armed men. After 10 years, the promulgation of the judgment on the case will be held at the Quezon City Jail, Annex Camp Bagong Diwa, Bikutan, Taguig City at 9:00 a.m. The country's inflation rate rose to 1.3% in November, the highest after the 1.7% last August. According to Philippine Statistics Authority, this is primarily due to faster rate of price increases of alcoholic beverages and tobacco index. Other drivers of the inflation rate are housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, furnishings, household equipment, and routine maintenance of the house, health, and communication. On the other hand, inflation of the heavy-weighted food and non-alcoholic beverages posted a 0% annual growth last November from 0.9% decline in the previous month. Among the meat products, the inflation rate of chicken rose by about 20% and beef by around 5%, while inflation rate of pork posted a higher negative 6% from negative 4% last October due to the impact of the African swine fever. The PSA said the latest inflation rate is way below the 6% level in the same period last year. It says the average inflation to date stood at 2.5%, still within the government's 2 to 4% target band. Hundreds of overseas Filipino workers in Eastern Visayas received cash rebates from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. And the Department of Agriculture extends cash aid to rice farmers in Agusan del Sur. More on these and other news from the provinces from Teresa Montemayor.
The Overseas Filipino Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, has granted 1 million pesos in cash rebates to 1,700 overseas Filipino workers in Eastern Visayas in the past 3 months. They are among the 15,000 OFWs who have been members of OWA for at least 10 years, with at least 5 or more contributions as of December 31, 2017. Applicants are encouraged to visit the OWA rebate portal to verify their qualifications. A total of 1 billion pesos is up for distribution to 556,000 qualified beneficiaries nationwide. Meanwhile, Cebu City's top barangay official on Wednesday said they were elated with Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo's recommendation to President Rodrigo Duterte to grant Christmas incentives to village officials. Franklin Ong, president of the Association of Barangay Councils, said the senator has recognized the contribution of barangay officials to the overall system of governance in the country. Go said on Sunday that the office of the president would give a 3,000 peso Christmas incentive to each elected barangay official to show appreciation for their hard work. In Agusan del Sur, a total of 360 rice farmers from the town of Prosperidad received cash assistance from the Department of Agriculture and the Land Bank of the Philippines. The aid was released through the Expanded Survival and Recovery Assistance for Rice Farmers, or SURE-AID. The A13 Executive Director Abel James Monteagudo led the distribution of cash cards to farmer beneficiaries in Prosperidad on Tuesday. A total cash assistance of 5.4 million pesos was released to the farmers. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Up next, the PCOO says it has launched media literacy reforms to promote transparency in government. And lawmakers pledge additional incentives for Filipino gold medalists in the SEA Games. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Siyempre, sobrang saya na ito yung first gold medal ko at dito pag ginanap sa Pilipinas. So, malaking bagay. Yung first SEA Games ko was 2005. So, ang tagal ko na sa sports at ngayon lang nagbunga lahat ng pinaghirapan ko sa training. So, ako po'y nagpapasalamat sa oportunidad na binigay ng PSC ni President Duterte na dito ginanap ang SEA Games sa Pilipinas. Para sa akin, napaka-espesyal. Kasi nga, nandito yung nanay ko. Na makita niya yung, ganito pala ang international competition, ganito pala ang pressure sa SEA Games. So, pagdating sa Tokyo 2020, alam na niya kung paano. So, alam ko na rin kung paano na maraming crowd ng Pilipino. Please, lahat ng i-include niyo po lahat ng mga Filipino athletes sa prayers na manood magtuloy. Although may pressure, may expectation, nandun naman talaga lahat ng laro. Pero iba pag nandito ka sa sarili mong bansa at nagawa mo ng maayos. So ako ay nagpapasalamat na nandito po kayo ngayon.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office is pushing for media literacy initiatives to make the Duterte government's policies and programs more transparent to the public. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said his office has been implementing programs and reforms to ensure the efficient and effective dissemination of government messages. Andanar said the government's commitment to become more open to the public is in line with the signing of the Executive Order on Freedom of Information and the creation of Presidential Task Force on Media Security. Andanar noted that the President's messages are shared through government-run radio and television stations as well as newswire offices, particularly the Philippine News Agency or PNA. He said the Duterte administration's messages can be delivered through the PCOO's websites and social media presence. He also said the president's popularity had prompted him to create the Office of Global Media Affairs, which promotes government priority policies to the international audience. He added that the OGMA also serves as a channel to clarify the negative portrayal of the current administration by some private news outfits. Members of the House of Representatives have pledged to grant additional incentives to the Filipino gold medal awardees in the 30th Southeast Asian Games. The chamber adopted on Wednesday House Resolution number 568, which seeks to collect and deduct the pledges of congressmen from their January 2020 salary to grant additional incentives to the medalists on top of the incentives granted by law. The resolution was mainly authored by Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, who currently chairs the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee or PHISGOC. The resolution also commended the athletes for bringing great honor and pride to the Filipino people. At least 4,500 youth in General Santos City and Sarangani Province will receive skills training opportunities through an innovative workforce development project dubbed as YouthWorks PH. The Philippine Business for Education and the United States Agency for International Development launched the project on Tuesday in partnership with the Gensan City Government and the private sector. Thomas LeBlanc, director of USAID Philippines Office of Education, said the move is part of their efforts to help more youth get valuable life skills and make them better prepared for the workforce. The project will cater to selected youth aged 18 to 24, including those out of school training or unemployed. Lovelane Basilote, PBED Executive Director and YouthWorks PH Chief of Party, said the beneficiaries will embark on various technical vocational training courses with the on-the-job learning opportunities. The 5-year project has selected Gensan as among its 7 priority areas, along with the Greater Manila area and the cities of Iloilo, Cebu, Zamboanga, Davao, and Cagayan de Oro. Business establishments are getting into the Christmas mood with various holiday gimmicks. A hotel in Tagaytay City is sticking to the Filipino brand of Christmas to promote their hospitality. Lade Kabagani has this report.
A hotel in Tagaytay City, Cavite is celebrating the classic Paskong Pinoy as part of its promotion this holiday season. The Lake Hotel Tagaytay launched its Christmas celebration with a Christmas tree lighting event on Saturday, November 30. Children participating in the event got the chance to write letters to Santa Claus and display their own arts and crafts. The Paskong Pinoy theme, which dominates the hotel's ambience, will also be used for its offerings such as food, room packages, and activities for the whole season. The highlight includes the buffet offerings during Noche Buena on December 24, Christmas lunch on December 25, and Media Noche on December 31. Operations Manager Bernard Maraon said the theme is also in support of country's tourism campaign to promote the country's one-of-a-kind hospitality culture. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lade Kabagani.
Here now is the latest in our community billboard. George Reyes, former general manager of the state-run Philippine News Agency, passed away on December 1st, his family said. He was 77 years of age. He died of acute and chronic respiratory failure with hypoxia. Reyes was PNA's general manager from 1998 to 2001. Interment will be at the Heaven Park Shrine at the Arlington Memorial in Binyan, Laguna. A Holy Mass will be held at 11 a.m. on Friday to be followed by an interment. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
Malacanang slams water concessionaires and the government for entering allegedly onerous concession agreements. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines defines the involvement of a Chinese company in the country's grid operators as purely business. Parts of Bicol region are placed under state of calamity after the onslaught of Typhoon Tisoy. And the PCOO says it has launched media literacy reforms to promote transparency in government.
Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.